Hey everyone, Scott Wilson from Yunnan Sourcing here. Getting ready to drink 2 teas from our Spring 2017 Lincang series, both from the Bandung area. One, Bandung Village proper. This is a Bandung Village tea picked in April of 2017. The tea garden that it's from is around 100 and 150 year old tea trees. Not super old, but they're naturally growing. No spray, no pesticides used on this one. We've been working with this particular grower since 2010, and the first production that we ever did through them was a 2010 autumn tea. So we're really excited to continue to work with them. And this particular tea is one of my favorites. It's kind of a powerhouse, and we're going to drink that and to talk about that a little bit. The Bandung tea is this one here. And Nahan village is in the Bandung area. I believe there is a Bandung. It's not Bandung County, it's Bandung Township, which holds many, it's a town and then it has many villages around it, Nahan being one of those villages. And again, this is in Lincang, in, of course, Yunnan province. Nahan, this particular tea garden is, I believe, 150 to 250 year old tea trees. So definitely one of the older tea gardens that we source from. Not super old, but definitely has some age on it, these trees. Again, naturally growing, no spray, no pesticides, no artificial fertilizers, nothing like that was being used. So let's get down to it. And this is, of course, the Nahan and the Bandung. So these two areas, I believe, are less than 10 kilometers apart as the crow flies. So I'm using 4.5 grams in each of these gaiwans, and I'm just going to pour directly into the cup here. This is one of my favorite ways to cup teas. It's very efficient. You don't use tons of water. You won't have to reboil the water. If you're drinking tea by yourself, you can do that pretty easily and not get just totally tea drunk. Depending on what you have ahead of you, that may or may not be a good thing. So let's see. Yeah. So I like to leave the top off in between here and let the steam come out. Tea soup, tea leaves not looking very different. Kind of the real, yellow, golden yellow color. I'm actually going to drink these. Again, the first brewing, the wash, as it were, you can drink, but it can be kind of an awkward in-between thing. But sometimes it can be telling. Not much to say here. I'm not going to notice a huge difference. Let's keep going. So this tea, this Bandung tea, I sent a little sample of it. I don't know if I remember if I sent a sample or a cake of it to Stephen Colbert at The Late Show. I don't know if y'all have been following his Tea for Tuesday. It's #tea and then the number 4 Tuesday. And every Tuesday he drinks a tea on his kind of little webisode, this Tea for Tuesday webisode, and talks about it. And it's pretty funny. He's got an interesting take on the teas, and he's reviewed a few of our teas, and I'm kind of hoping that he'll review the Bangdong, because I'm sure he'll get a real kick out of saying that, and as he always does. So let's, again, this is the bandong and the nahan here. But I'm gonna let these cool a little bit. I don't want to burn my mouth early on in the session because I'm pouring directly into the cup. When you do that, it's gonna be hotter than if you pour it into the chahai first, so definitely be aware of that. The chahai does serve a great use of, you pour the tea in there and then you pour the tea in the cup, and that extra pour often, cools it down. Sometimes I have another set of cups here and then I pour into those cups and then pour back if I want to go rapid fire and really cool it down faster. But bandong is like really kind of nutty. It's got a little bit of that green tea edge, that nuttiness, which it's normal to find that in Pu'er too. The nahan has that as well, and there's a very slight smokiness to this tea. I don't really see many like the burnt bits from the kilgreen, particularly more in this than I do in the bandong here. The nahan has that very slight smokiness in this first infusion, and it also has, I think, a little bit more body. There's bitterness. The bandong also has bitterness, and they both have floral notes and like a huitian, like a returning sweetness or something that this blossoming kind of sweetness in the mouth that comes after you get the initial hit of the tea on the tongue and the mouth. I have a little bucket down here that I habitually dump into. So let's keep going with these. Bandong and nahan here. So and these are really great teas because I think that they, given the quality and given, how pure the teas are, and, the fact that they're from mature trees, I think that they all come in well under $100. The bandong is cheaper than the nahan. The nahan's always been a little bit of a pricier tea. But some people prefer the bandong to the nahan. I personally prefer the nahan, but sometimes I find myself wanting to drink the bandong just because I like that crisper, kind of has like a crisper, bitterness to it. These are really good teas because I think they demonstrate that Lincang teas can be bitter and astringent, but that they can be bitter without a huge amount of astringency, which is considered to be the domain of Sichuan teas like Bulong and things like that, which have bitterness and less astringency. Often the critique of teas from outside of Sichuan is that they lack bitterness and they have too much astringency, but as I've explored these regions, I've found all kinds of teas that don't conform to that. So, I consider that to be a myth, that Sichuan teas are the only ones that have more bitterness than astringency. Definitely not the case. If you want to test that, I highly recommend both of these teas as prime examples of teas that have bitterness, more bitterness than astringency. This is really opened up now. There's a real thickness. There's like a butteriness to it, like a real creamy, thick, mouthfeel. There's a bitterness. There's a very slight astringency, but not overwhelming or lasting. No real smokiness there. I'm gonna pour on the table this time. I'm gonna get to it here. Get these going. This is what they call Gong Fu tea. It requires some level of proficiency, especially talking and drinking tea and brewing it. Wow, the Na Han is... When I first get this in my mouth, the tea, it's really... There's so many things going on. I feel like I'm constantly... Like this tea, I feel, Na Han particularly, each brewing reveals a little bit more. The Bandung, a little more straight ahead, very good. I wouldn't say any less good than the Na Han, but the Na Han has some other dimensions to it. Like this brewing now tastes quite different from the previous one. I'm tasting more bitterness. I'm not tasting the smokiness. It has just generally like a higher pitch, as it were, in terms of bitterness, astringency, floral, sweetness. And it's definitely a tea that a little bit more, poppy in the mouth, as it were. I know that sounds strange, but I got my habit. Hard to break habits. I like to keep my tea kettle clean, so I tend to just dump right in this bucket down here, which you can always get yourself a bucket from Lowe's. It's like, I think, $2 or $3. Go wrong there, and don't let it fill up because it'll stink long before you fill it up. All right, now got a little extra time on that. On the lid here, I get a little bit of smokiness, but that could be from previous steepings. But it's not unpleasant. It's almost like a caramelized kind of taste. Often that's from Kilgreen. The edges of the tea will get a little bit burnt, or sometimes the wood. If when the Kilgreen process is done in a wok, they're frying the tea, and the smoke, if it's not vented well, will come up into the wok during the frying process. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think it's just a little bit of like burn on the wok, or maybe in between fryings they clean the wok, or they should clean the wok, and they should get out any kind of burnt bits that stuck to the wok. But the tea itself can also get very, very slight burning. If you get too much, then I'll reject the batch, but this is definitely not. It's very, very subtle. Again, Bandung, bitter, full, real long. It just kind of hangs out like right here and right here under the tongue. Let's go to the Na Han now. Overall, the Na Han, I'd say, is actually a stronger tea with a little bit more going on. But again, they're not dramatically different teas. Let's give them another steeping and see if we can start to see one of them maybe retreating a little bit and becoming a little more brewed out. Typically, drinking both of these as I have, I find that they tend to go, I give up fairly soon just because I like that real sweet spot. So I typically, you could push these, you could push these 10 steepings. I tend to push them between, 7 and 8 because I notice when they lose a little bit, but let's let them sit a little while longer here. And this time I'm going to drink the Na Han before I drink the Bandung. That's another element that you might want to do if you're doing side-by-side brewings, which is instead of always drinking them in the same order, change it up. Maybe every other brewing, just switch back and forth. I'm gonna do this one first and that one second, because sometimes it's hard to know where one tea begins and the other one ends. And in the mouth, often with these really strong pungent teas with these long lasting tastes and feelings in the mouth, you're not going to really be able to conclusively say this tea is doing this to my mouth or your body or chachi, because drinking them so close together, you're not going to be able to necessarily differentiate that smell, aromas and tastes, and the tea soup, and are there little burnt bits, and what's the color of the tea soup or the color of the tea leaves. You can definitely tell when you do side by side. And again, these don't seem dramatically different to me. Let's try them again, and this time I'm going to drink the Na Han first, just to change it up a little bit. There's Lucy barking. So So yeah, I feel like the Na Han actually has more astringency. It has, I think, about the same level of bitterness as the Bandung. Bandung comes across to me as being bitter with less astringency, but it also has less of that sweetness in the aftertaste that the Na Han has. It also, I find that the Na Han is probably wins in terms of having like body or viscosity or whatever you want to call it. It tends to have a couple of an extra dimension to it, I think, because of that body that the Bandung doesn't have. But not to say that the Bandung is lacking in that. I think it's only lacking in body compared to the Na Han. Compared to a lot of other teas, it's off the charts. So again, similar areas, very close. But I think if you drink them side by side, you'll definitely be able to tell that they're quite different teas. You'll be able to notice that they have similarities because of the region, but because of the, whether it be the processing or the age of the trees or the exact location, and is it on the side of a hill or on the top of a hill. I know that the Na Han is top of the hill, so there's a lot of sun there. The Bandung is on a slope. So again, these things make a difference. To be honest with you, I can't say conclusively, top of the hill versus the slope, how that's going to change the tea. And I don't think that's really important, but just knowing that, similar areas very close together are going to have a different tea. So anyways, that's about it. Again, these are the teas. This is the Bandung here, the 2017 Bandung, and the Na Han from a very, very close to Bandung neighbors, Na Han. So yeah, check these out and hope you like the video. Subscribe down there, and we're gonna keep making videos. Thanks.